And now, it's time for your Low Country Real Estate Market Update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com or call him at 843-888-0065. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this morning. If this is your first time tuning into this program, we talk about housing here on this show. I've been doing this for 10 years, selling real estate for 17. Next month will be my 18th year in the business. About $1 billion locally represented in real estate volume. So I bring my experience to this show and help you understand the trends within the market so that you are a prepared, informed consumer. So I want to talk about a few things today, namely, what in the world is going to happen with regard to this real estate market. There's a lot of mixed messages out there regarding the future of the real estate market. And we've had interest rates go up again. So what does that mean? Will prices continue to go up? Will they go down? Will we have more homes hit the market? Or will we continue to see a decrease in inventory like we've been seeing for years at this point? Is the market going to crash? Is the bubble going to burst? Are interest rates going to continue to go up? Will they drop? There's a lot to unpack here. So I want to help put a few things into perspective. I want to talk about selling your house and how you can make the most money possible when doing that. It's not doing it for sell by owner, although there are times where that might work well for you. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because we've had a lot of folks recently say, yeah, I think I'm just going to try and do this on my own. That can work. I want to give you some guidelines, though. If you're thinking about doing this by yourself, there are a few things you need to take into consideration, a few things that you really need to equip yourself with. So we're going to talk about that and a few other things over the course of the next hour. But, you know, if at any point in time you'd like to reach out to me, you'd like to talk about your specific real estate needs, you're thinking of selling a home, buying an investment property, developing land, selling land. I mean, we really do it all. We have a real estate team. We have a property management company. I have a private money lending company. We invest. So we kind of cover all the bases with regard to residential real estate and land. So if we can help you in any way, 843-800-0065 is my number. 843-800-0065. Call or text that number or check us out online. listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com, and a ton of great resources on there. You can look at our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all that great stuff. You can watch, I think we're over 800 videos now on YouTube where we video this show. So just Google us. You'll find us. We're all over the place. But we bring this information to you as a way to bring, I think, awareness to our local real estate market. Because here's the deal. If you go online and you start looking at and trying to figure out what's happening in the world of real estate, you're going to get a lot of mixed messages. You're going to find a lot of national averages, which in some way, shape, or form are helpful to kind of understand the overall real estate market. But it's almost like there's no such thing as a national real estate market, right? Because every market's different. Every street, every neighborhood, every price range, every area of Charleston is going to be different, right? So you really have to work with somebody that understands those dynamics, has success and experience in those different sections of the market, and really is a proven resource for getting hired for a specific job and then doing really well at it. But I want to unpack just kind of where we are in this market right now, and I want to put this into perspective for a large portion of the population. 51% of the U.S. population makes $75,000 a year or less. I mean, they're already in a position where if they want to buy a house, they'd have to spend a significant portion of their income just on housing. So let's walk this through a little bit. This is a little eye-opening. I was taking some time earlier in the week, and I was putting some of this together for the show to kind of give you the real world example and understanding of what someone in that type of situation earning that kind of income, which is no slouch income. I mean, $75,000 a year. When I would have been happy to make $75,000 a year at the beginning stages of adulthood and my work life. And it got there, and it took some time, but anyways, if you make $75,000 a year, let's say that you've saved up $50,000 for a down payment, right? That's a big chunk of change. It's tough to do in this environment, right? Everything costs more money. So I think you're seeing a lot of people that are deciding to move back in with their parents or shack up in a rental with a few friends and share the burden of the rental payments. But if you're making $75,000 a year, you saved up $50,000 for a down payment, and your interest rate is around 7.5%, which is about what it is right now. Some people are already seeing quotes for 8% based on credit score and down payment and so on and so forth. But anyways, if you're making $75,000 a year and you've got a 7.5% interest rate, that means you can afford to buy a $250,000 house. Really, it means that you're getting a mortgage for $200,000, which $250,000 gets you a starter home in Somerville or Goose Creek or something like that with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, around 1,500 square feet. So at a $250,000 purchase price with 20% down, that's $1,400 a month in payments just for your principal and interest. Well, then you need to tack on another, $400 in taxes and insurance, then probably another $500 a month in utilities and maintenance, and you're already at $2,300 a month, which is 37% of your total income. And by the way, a healthy, what they call debt to income ratio, is 35%. But that doesn't include, car payments, food, gas, healthcare, childcare, your phone, your subscriptions, entertainment, travel, contributions to, an emergency fund or savings or retirement, and so on and so forth. So as of right now, if we're looking at spending $250,000 on a house and you look at what's for sale in the Charleston area, as of Friday, there were 10 homes for sale in Charleston County. There were 13 homes for sale in Berkeley County and 2 homes for sale in Dorchester County. 25 total properties out of about 2,600 available in the Charleston area in our MLS. And a lot of these homes need significant work. There were a few that you could move into and everything would be just fine. Everything's in working order and maybe even to an extent somewhat updated. But there are plenty of properties where, it needs $50,000, $100,000 worth of work easily. So out of these 25 properties available, out of 2,600 available in our MLS, that's going to be a really competitive environment if you want to make an offer. You've got a bunch of folks, the 51% of the U.S. population that makes $75,000 or yes, looking for a home in this price range, and there just is hardly anything for sale. And when they do go on the market, they're selling on average in 5 days. So one of the big questions is, well, what's going to bring inventory to that section of the market, right? What's going to cause people to want to sell? Well, I think on one hand, you're always going to have inventory for life events, right? People get married, people get divorced, people have, they have to relocate for a new job. They get raises, they get laid off. They have to go back to work, which we're starting to see because they can't work remotely anymore. They have kids and they need more space. They become empty nesters and they need less space. So on and so forth. People pass away. All these things contribute to inventory. Now, in this specific moment in time, we're also dealing with insurance being a lot more expensive in the Charleston area, which I'm sure you've probably noticed if your insurance bill has recently renewed. Utilities are more expensive. Taxes almost always go up, especially when a home gets, reassessed. And then you add to that the cost of everything, right? And even then, even those that are sitting pretty with a 3% mortgage are feeling the pain, right? They certainly couldn't stomach doubling or almost tripling their monthly mortgage payment if their income stayed the same. It's not going to happen. That doesn't make sense unless there's a really good reason for them to want to move. But what they do have is equity. They have a lot of cash in their home that they can't really use unless they're going to do something like take out a home equity line of credit. And when they do that, they're going to pay somewhere between 8 and 9% interest on it. So that gives you just, I think, a pretty clear picture of the reality of a lot of people that want to get into home ownership. What we haven't really seen yet, which is why this market is sustaining itself, is a massive decrease in demand. we've seen a huge decrease over time in inventory. We really never recovered from an inventory perspective when COVID hit. I mean, there was a point in time where right before COVID, we were kind of averaging, 5,500-ish homes for sale in the Charleston MLS, Charleston, Berkeley, Dorchester County. And then it just dropped off the shelf. People didn't want to sell. People didn't want folks in their homes. We had that just weird time where, we were locked into our house. And then things slowly picked up. And then, of course, interest rates dropped to below 3%. And everyone basically said to themselves, well, why not? I mean, really, real estate was almost like a get-rich-quick scheme. Because you buy something now, and then 6 months later, depending upon your price point, it's $50,000, $100,000 more. So you had people that were playing some leapfrog. You had people that were playing the system, and good for them for seeing the opportunity. But we're not in that kind of market anymore, right? Let's say, as an example, let's look at kind of the other side of the coin here. Let's say you want to move to Mount Pleasant. The average price point in Mount Pleasant, south of the Isle of Palms connector, closer to Charleston, is $1.1 million. That's the average sales price right now. That's about $7,000 a month in payments just for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. That's 7.5%. That means that you need to be making about $250,000 a year to be in that kind of preferred 35% debt to income ratio. That's a lot of moolah, right? That makes it very tough to break into the Mount Pleasant market right now. I think what we shouldn't be doing is comparing the market now to the market of 2021. That was an anomaly, a perfect storm of reasons why people buying a home felt like it was a good idea, right? I mean, 6.1 million homes sold in 2021. The only 2 years with more sales were in 2005 with 7.1 million and 2006 with 6.5 million. And so that kind of begs the question, well, are we setting ourselves up to repeat history? Think about how easy it was to go and get a loan back then. I started selling real estate in 2006. So the beginning portion of my career was dealing with kind of the afterburn of that market between 06 and 08. And then, of course, the crash of 08. And then getting really, really good and really experienced with short sales and foreclosures, REOs, all that good stuff. Well, if you think back to 2021, things were humming in the first part of the year, and then rates went up past 6%. And then the number of sales dropped drastically. People were locked in at 3% mortgages, sometimes lower, and they were obviously, and still are, enjoying the lower cost of ownership compared to now. In fact, and I'll mention this before we take a quick break, but there was an affordability study that was done at the end of last year in 2022. And it essentially said that about 45% of people could afford to buy their house at the current price and at current interest rates. And by the way, prices and rates have gone up since then, which means even fewer people could actually afford to purchase the home they live in now. So we're in this very interesting time in our market where we're not sure what's going to give. And guess who's forcing our hand? The Fed, right? There are some rumblings of interest rates going down to, say, 6% by the end of the year. I don't think there's a chance that that's going to happen. It'd be great, but I don't think there's a chance that that's going to happen. I want to talk more about this, but we're going to take a quick break. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And remember, if you want to reach out to me, you want to have a chat about what's going on in the real estate market, you've got some real estate plans of your own, whether it's buying, selling, investing, renting out a property that you own. Maybe you want to get into the real estate business and you want to be trained by somebody that has a lot of experience. I've been a national real estate coach for years, in addition to owning and operating my team. So we'd love the opportunity to chat with you if you're thinking about making a career change. Reach out to me at 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.